What's going on, guys? 2025 is officially in the books. It's now 2026, kicking off the new year here, and I felt like doing a video just kind of wrapping up all of last year and kind of going through kind of a uh, quick reflection on each of the products that I reviewed and kind of like putting them in kind of my order of kind of what I think was good, what I thought was okay, what I really didn't dig at all, and what I would just never touch again. Basically, I'm gonna kind of do like maybe four, maybe five, like a ranking system type thing. You've seen, you know what I'm talking about. Where if it's a five, it's absolutely incredible. For me personally, I absolutely loved it. And if it's a four, I think it's really, really good and maybe wasn't exactly the product for me, but I think it could be the product for a lot of people. A three maybe didn't really connect with me. It wasn't bad, wasn't good, but it's something that I really just did not really uh, feel much of a connection with. Two, maybe just something that I just did not like at all. And as far as I'm aware, I don't have anything that would be below that. I didn't have anything that was just complete trash, so that's good. But I'm much more selective with what I review. I review stuff that I think that I would like, and if other people like it, then awesome. So let's go ahead and get started here. All right, let's start with the Chase Bliss Brothers AM. It's kind of a tongue twister. I really like this pedal. I think it's very situational though. I'm gonna put this as a 4. If you play primarily clean, or if you kind of have like edge of breakup, kind of a slightly dirty sound, I think that the pedal can be awesome. Again, with 2 different drives that you can use either or stack them. It does have a lot of flexibility, but the more gain that you use, the less practical it becomes. It still sounds really good with like a JCM 800, and my Jubilee sounded awesome with those. But once you get up to like the Dietzel and the Victory Kraken, things like that, it becomes a lot less effective at doing what it probably does best. So I'm going to say this is a 4, but if you use a lot of gain, it probably isn't the pedal for you. Next, the Chibson Flying V. This was a fun little project that I did, but kind of the big caveat and takeaway here is that you really need to know kind of how to work on a guitar. If you either have good knowledge of how to properly set up a guitar, how to wire pickups and electronics, how to do maybe some light fretwork here and there, it could potentially be a pretty good bargain. You could end up with something good, but they don't accept returns with those things. I'll try to give you like a partial refund if there is something wrong with it. But I ended up with a guitar that has good bones. It had pretty good fretwork, which was kind of a surprise to me and the luthier that I took the guitar to. But all of the hardware was trash. So have some spare hardware if you want to do that type of project, and hopefully have some type of guitar knowledge on, you know, some basic setup work and wiring and stuff like that. I'll put this as a 3 with the possibility to go to a 4 with the right hardware. Let's see. Epiphone Prophecy V. Well, actually, let me scoot back a second. I would say out of the box, the guitar was a 2, borderline a 1. But again, I had a bunch of stuff laying around that I could put in there, so it bumped it from a 2 up to a 3. It's not the best guitar in the world, but it's very cool looking, and it plays really good, and it sounds good, and for the most part, the tuning stability is there, but it took a lot of work to get it there. All right, Prophecy V, the Epiphone Prophecy V, which is kind of what the Chibson was sort of a clone of. I would say this is also a 3. It had those Fishman Fluence modern pickups, which I absolutely hate. It has neck dive, pretty bad neck dive. The Chibson has none because it's the longer scale length, which is kind of unique to that guitar. But overall, out of the box, the Epiphone was a significantly better guitar, just better hardware, better setup, better fretwork, all of the above. But I really didn't like the way that it sounded. I think the Chibson sounds significantly better with the Motor City Afwayu pickup in there. And yeah, just overall, Gibson, or the Epiphone Prophecies, kind of a 3 for me. I didn't love it. So yeah. Next, APFX software. This was cool, but I think that the big caveat with this is that there are much better guitar plug-in softwares out there that do a lot more and potentially sound better, maybe have a different sound that you're wanting. I would say that it's kind of a borderline 3 for me, but the big catch here is that they have a free iPad app, which I've used multiple times. And if you have a cheap USB-C to quarter-inch adapter, you can just plug your guitar straight into like your iPad or your iPhone. I don't know if it's on iPhone. It might be. I don't know. I didn't look. But just plug straight in, get your headphones going, and you're up and going, and it's free. And that's a huge value right there. So if you travel a lot, just slip your iPad in your gig bag with a little adapter and a little cable, and you're good to go. So definitely was pretty cool software, and I've used it several times. Next, the Schecter C1 EA Hybrid. I actually bought this guitar. I got a review unit, and I liked it so much, and my luthier and I were just absolutely shocked by how good the setup on the guitar was. The fretwork was impeccable. Just the entire setup, construction, everything was flawless. And from an Indonesian guitar, potentially could be a little bit hit or miss there, not quite up to the level of the Korean instruments. But this thing was built incredibly well, and my fear was that if I buy another one, is it going to be just as good as the first one? And it absolutely was. Just bang on perfect. So love this guitar. It plays really well, and the fact that it can do acoustic in addition to electric means that I can do the whole flip-flopping with the Quad Cortex and play acoustic rhythm parts, and then kick over to, like, I think it's a JCM 800 capture that I'll kick over to on the Quad Cortex for lead stuff when we do our acoustic-ish shows. So very good guitar, and I ended up really liking the factory pickups. So those they have a good bite and good balance. So overall, really good guitar. I really love it. Next, the Jim Adkins Telly. I'm going to put this as a 3 only because I felt like it needed a couple of things to bring it up to what I would like, but it's a really unique guitar. You've got I think it's either a deep set neck or a neck through construction, so much better playability than a typical Telecaster. But then it's also got the P90s, which they really needed to be noiseless P90s. They were kind of noisy, but they sounded rad, and the 4-knob Les Paul Gibson type control layout, very familiar to me, and it lets me have the flexibility that I want from a guitar, being able to kind of have one volume knob rolled back for cleans and then flip to another pickup and go, higher gain with the volume pot all the way up. So Jim Adkins Telly, it was pretty cool. Wasn't great. It needed a little bit of TLC with the hardware and I think better pickups, but it has the potential to be a very good guitar. Next, kind of one of the standout products for this year for me is the Origin Effects MEQ driver. I didn't really know what to expect getting a mid boost driver. It was the first mid boost pedal that I had used. I mean, I've used like other pedals that have like a mid boost thing in there, but this is like bespoke, pushes the mid range, and I was not prepared for how flexible it would allow me to be on stage, specifically when you've got your bass player with the upper mids from that frequency range, and then you've got another guitar player, and then you've got you, and if you're playing with like a keyboard, you've got all, potentially other mid-range frequencies all kind of fighting for some, the general mid-range space. And being able to kind of fine-tune exactly where your guitar is pushing in the mid-range lets you sit more comfortably in your stage mix. And you don't have to use it for a gain pedal. You can just have it be a clean boost, but it does have good gain that it can add in addition to that. And being able to select between 3 different popular, kind of powerful mid-range frequencies and then use the knob to fine-tune exactly how much boost you want, I think it's a really, really good pedal, and it adapts to every amp that I've plugged it into. It sounded great in every amp, and it's kind of become the go-to pedal for me live for a boost pedal. So Very cool pedal, just a surprise hit for me. Next, the Friedman Plex. Man alive, what an amp. It felt and sounded unbelievably good. It's a pure old school plexi sound, and if that's what you're after, I think that this is easily one of the best options on the market, mainly because of the master volume. The master volume allowed me to use that amp at very low volumes and still have just a crushingly good like the old Eddie Van Halen type sound going on. Just absolutely loved it. I really want one. I don't need one, but I think about that amp a lot, and I go back to that video quite a bit. And people that own it, they're like, this is my number one. So very highly rated. I'm giving that one a 5. Oh, and the MEQ driver, absolutely a 5 for me. Let's see. All right, a little bit of a Debbie Downer here. I didn't actually do a review for this product because I cannot recommend it. For me personally, based on the unit that I received for review, this is the Tonex cab. I don't think it sounds good at all. I could not get anything resembling an acceptable sound from this product, and I tried numerous different ways to run into that. I run several captures from the Quad Cortex straight into it. I ran all of my amplifiers into the aux box into it. I ran into the aux stomp into it. I even did comparisons with the ZLX monitor FRFR that I usually gig with. It was on one side of it, and then I had my Mako 112 with the 100 watt Wazacraft speaker loaded in that cabinet. And I used the Mark 7 to kind of do the testing with that. And I run DI out from the Mark 7 with a cab impulse response loaded up, ran it straight into the Tonex cab, and it's just, the low end is too boomy. The top end is very muffled and rolled off. Everything was connected inside. I actually looked and checked, and everything was connected. But the top end is really rolled off, and if you try to adjust it on the amplifier, it's like a harsh top end. It's like it's a kind of a, it doesn't sound right. It sounds very unnatural in the top end. So I couldn't get a good sound in it. Like just unplugging straight out of the Tonex cab and going into the FR, it was just boom, this perfect sound. And then also running regular speaker out from the amplifier into the Mako cabinet next to it. Just a killer 112 sound, and the same kind of general form factor as that Tonex cab with the single 12, but man, I could not do anything to get that Tonex cab sounding right. So it's just a big letdown, and I know that there are a lot of guys that absolutely love this product, so I don't know, maybe it was just me, maybe I got a bad one, I don't know, but for me, the one that I got, it's a 2 on my list, so that's why you didn't see a review video of that. Next, back to the Origin Effects, guys. The DCX boost, kind of the thing that kicked off the whole Origin Effects kind of little partnership thing we had. So I borrowed this from one of my mutual friends on our kids' baseball team. One of the other dads plays guitar. So he let me check it out, and I really liked it. It's a very specific sound, so if you're looking for something that does not color the sound in a typical way, or a typical way like in terms of like it's not a tube screamer, it's not like a Boss type drive, it's a very specific type of sound. I think that the Origin Effects DCX boost is really cool, and for the people who want the type of sound that it produces, it's just a piece of gold on the pedal board. So I definitely get where the people who love these things, I get where they're coming from. But for me, I really liked it, but it's vastly overshadowed by how much I like the MEQ driver compared to it. So it's a really good, the DCX is a great pedal, but I'm reaching for the MEQ 99% of the time if I had the two sitting next to each other. So I think this is a 4. Great pedal, just not quite for me. All right, let's run through the Synergy modules. I did 6 of them this year. So, okay, let's start with the Deliverance. This is at the top for me. Absolutely the top module I have used so far. It can do everything. It can do everything that I want a module to do. It does great cleans without needing, something like the little Sin 20 head that has a bespoke clean channel. If you want something that can do a nice, smooth, warm, low gain crunch that you can roll back into a really fat, smooth, clean sound that can still have a good chime to it, it does that. It does the moderate gain, modern rock type thing, and then it does like the really high gain stuff as well. It just does everything really, really well. There's no weakness, in my opinion, to this module. And seriously, I'm considering grabbing one, but I've got more to kind of work my way through. So, but right now, Deliverance module, top of the list. All right, Killer Cali. This was a cool one, but I'm giving this a 4 because it wasn't quite for me, but it was a very good sounding unit. And if I feel like the guys who wanted a high gain kind of British based voiced module, they really didn't have any options up until the Killer Cali came out. You've got several other high gain modules available, but the Killer Cali was the one that was sort of rooted in like the British voicing, and it was absolutely savage. It cut like a knife. It had like tons of gains, super tight, really clear, just a great unit. But it wanted to go hard all the time. And although it could get some of the low gain crunch sounds pretty well, it wasn't nearly as accomplished and natural sounding with the low gain sounds as something like the Deliverance module. Next, the Synergy JMP. This one's tough for me. I really liked the voice of it, but it didn't 100% feel as big as I felt like it needed to, but that's probably just because it was running into the Sin 20 head. I mean, I tried running the Sin 1 with this module into my Nitro just for a big 100-watt power section, and it didn't feel right. None of my amplifiers could get the module feeling the way that the Friedman Plex could feel, and just in the room, the way that it sounded and moved air, I could not find any combination of equipment that could get anywhere remotely close to how the Friedman Plex sounded. And for me, that's a critical part of the experience of the old JMP sound. I want to give this a 3 just from that perspective, but I feel like it's better than that. And I don't want to do it a disservice to how accurate the voicing of it is, because it's voiced really well, but the feel just was not there in terms of just the in the room. Now, if you're running just recording the module, I don't think it's a problem, but if you're playing live, I don't feel like it's going to hit the way it needs to be, JMP, whatever. So it can go between, I'm going to say it's between 3 and 4 for me. Next, the Synergy 800. Great unit. It was much closer in terms of like sounding like the real deal. I did have the JCM 800 in the studio when I had this unit for review, and there were several routes that I could use in terms of like just running the Sin 1 with this module to get very close to how the real 800 felt and sounded. Biggest example was just running into the Nitro. I was like, that's it, that's right there. A little bit bigger of a bottom end than the real 800, but by and large, it was very, very accurate. So I'm giving that a 4. And also, I mean, it's got 2 channels, so you can have one set up as kind of like a dirty-ish clean type sound. You roll back a little bit and get a little bit cleaner, and then have, it had more gain than the regular 800 did, so that was kind of cool. Let's see, Synergy SLO module. Now, by the way, the 800 in the SLO module and the Fryette GPD IR, which I'll talk about in a little bit, all 3 of those were lent to me by Joe at Passion for Tone. Great YouTube channel, really cool guy. Definitely check him out if you haven't. So yeah, shout out to him for lending me these. Synergy SLO module. This is a 4 as well. I've got the 50 watt Brittone SLO down there, and again, it was very close. And running it into the power station, the Waza tube amp expander, I just kind of nailed how the feel and just the overall the response and the voicing, just very good, and I liked it. All right, last but not least, the 2CP module. This was awesome. I loved this thing, and I think part of the extra appreciation that I had for this module was because I've owned two of the Mesa Studio preamps in the past, which this is basically a Mesa Studio preamp in a little tiny package. But the things that I liked about the 2CP compared to the Studio preamp was that A, it's more affordable, B, it's much quieter. The Studio preamps are kind of noisy, and most importantly, it's much easier to dial in a great sound. The Studio preamp, it's definitely got kind of what's considered a sweet spot, and if you deviate from that too much, it really doesn't sound that great at all. But once you get the Studio preamp dialed in, it's basically images and words in a box. It's like really, really good. So being able to have a more forgiving EQ, but still having the same awesome sounds, it made this a 5 for me. It's not quite as good as the Deliverance, but just right there neck and neck. And the only real knock I have against the 2CP is that the EQ sliders are absolutely microscopic, and they're really fiddly to kind of get in there and get set just right. But overall, just a really awesome module. Capping off the Synergy stuff is the Syn 20 IR head, and I'm just going to go ahead and say it. This is a 5 for me. I think that there have not been any amplifiers or products that have surprised me as much as this thing has. I'm on my second loaner unit now from Zounds, and it can do everything. It's a very good stage amp. It's got plenty of power. Despite being an EL84 based power section, it doesn't collapse on itself when you push it really hard the way that most other EL84 based amps will do. You've got the ability to run MIDI control with it. It has impulse responses built in. You don't need a cabinet on stage if you just want to run silent recording or run straight DI into the PA. And I mean, obviously the biggest benefit is that you can make it sound however you want. You can have any module that you want, whether you want like the Tone King for a much lower gain thing, or you want all the way up to like the Diesel or the D-Rec or the Deliverance, the Engel. Like there's and everything in between, the JMP. Like there's so many options for how you can make that thing sound, and the fact that you get the great built-in clean channel that has a ton of clean headroom, in addition to the 2 channels on whatever module you load in there. You're looking at a very flexible setup, and at right around like that $1,500 price point for the cost of the amp and a module, like that's a smoking deal for everything that it does. It's almost impossible to say anything bad about it, other than maybe it should be 50 watts. I want a 50 watt version. I hope we see a 50 watt version, but as it stands, that's a very loud, powerful, very good headroom from a 20 watt power section. And if you don't own one, go get one. It's so good. Just go get one. It can do everything that you want and need an amplifier to do, especially for the home players. For the home players, this is absolutely, if I could only have one amplifier to plug in to at my house, that's probably what it would be, to be honest. So highly recommended. It's a 5. Next, the Gibson Les Paul Studio. Man, this was a tough one for me in terms of ranking. I'm giving it a 3 because it's too expensive. It's a good guitar, but everyone wants a Les Paul Standard. It doesn't have quite as good of looks as a Les Paul Standard, but like the name implies, I feel like this is kind of like the studio workhorse. It's got the sound that you want a Les Paul to make, but at the price point, it's not the $800-900 bargain that it used to be. So I feel like if they could bring the price down some, it would be a better deal, but they would be dropping it down into Epiphone pricing at that point, and they probably don't want to water down the whole portfolio that way. So I get why it's more expensive. It was a well-built guitar. It played well, sounded great, but I feel like it's too expensive for what it is. Next on the list, JCM 800. Man, what an awesome amp. Golly, I loved this amp. And it wasn't anything like I thought it was going to be, but it turned out I had a new appreciation for what it was after the fact, as a extremely potent and very flexible pedal platform. And if you are a rock player or thrash, blues, I feel like the amp just can adapt to anything you throw at it, and it all kind of revolves around how much preamp gain do you want from the amp, and then how much gain do you want to hit the amp with in front with a drive pedal. And by kind of manipulating those two things, it can flex in multiple different ways that really surprised me. But at the end of the day, I was like, oh, of course. Like, it does all this. No wonder every recording studio has one. So, yeah, just absolutely loved it. Built like a tank. I'll open that thing up and it was just immaculate inside. Very, very well built. So, very expensive, but the sound was great. The build quality was there. No complaints at all. I'm giving this one a 5. Like, it hit perfectly for me. I really want one. Man, I want a lot of stuff, but the 800s, and it is up there. So kind of piggybacking off the 800, let's talk about the Hot Mod by Legendary Tones. I reached out to David to check out one of his modules, kind of specifically to go with my 800 content that I made. And oh, here it is. If you're not familiar with these, it's basically like this little module that plugs in to one of the sockets of your amp. Pop out a preamp tube, pop this thing in, and it adds an extra gain stage of natural preamp tube gain without needing to manipulate anything in front of the amp in terms of like boosting it or anything like that. And it's got, you can see there, it's got a bass boost built in and a gain boost. So if you want more gain than what it provides by default, you can flip that switch and get a little bit more saturation, and if you want a little bit more low end, you can flip the switch and get that. He's got two other modules, the Mr. Scary, which instead of kind of a toggle switch, it's like a knob that you can adjust how much gain, and he recently released his Caswell mod. What is it? Jim Caswell, Bill Caswell, Bill Casmeyer, different thing. Yeah, Caswell mod is based on some old highly sought after Marshall modifications that he collaborated with him on to kind of develop a new module, and he is slammed on orders for those, but hopefully I can get my hands on one this coming year to check out. I'm giving the Hot Mod a 4, borderline 5. It's very situational. If you have an amp that one of these things works with, I think they're awesome, and for the amps that do work well with these, like the 800, Plexis, Mesa Badlander, the people who have them absolutely swear by them. So the hype's real, but it's also kind of situational depending on your amp. Next, the Fryette GPD IR, another loaner from Joe at Passion for Tone. Really cool unit, but I kind of have a little bit of mental conflict with. It seems like it's built for recording and to be like a little desktop preamp, all tube preamp. It does have a power amp that you can hook up a cabinet to it, but it's very quiet. It's really not what you would consider like a mic up a cabinet and get a good recorded cabinet sound. At least I really didn't get that impression. But having the impulse responses built in that you can load up to get different cab sim sounds, and the analog cab sim that Steve Fryette's kind of pioneered, as far as I'm aware. It does have a lot of flexibility, and it has great cleans. It has a really good deliverance gain, and it's got the Pitbull gain, which is crazy tight, articulate, clear, high gain sound. So you've got all of these legendary Fryette sounds in an affordable little desktop preamp box. And I think for the people who want that type of sound and you don't want to go after one of the more expensive GP3 valvulator rack mount units, I think this is a great alternative. It's not really made for the stage, although in my review I said it could work on stage if you had a good power amp to send it to. So it's kind of like, I'm saying this is borderline 3-4 for me. And the only reason it's kind of borderline with a 3 is because I feel like for a little bit more money, the Sin 20 head with the Deliverance module does basically everything that the GPDIR does that I want it to do. And you get the addition of, you know, an actual guitar amp that you can plug in and take on stage and gig with. You still got the impulse responses you can use. It's got a little bit more flexibility in terms of the response that the Sin 20 head has. So you can get a little bit different sounds and feels out of it that way. But on the other hand, the Sin 20 IR has the analog cab sim going on, which is cool, but I really didn't get sounds that I wanted out of it from that. So again, situational kind of for me. But yeah, the Fryette module in the Sin 20 head, that's what I would grab 100%. I would grab that instead of this, and I feel like that's a tough sell. That's a tough sell for me. The GPDIR, I think it's really cool, and if you want it, then it's the only thing on the market that can do what it does. So 3-4, it's there. Next, the PRS MT15 version 2. It's not bad, but it's too expensive. At the end of the day, it's just too expensive. I'm gonna put this as a 3. I feel like if you want the MT15 sound, just go get a first generation version for like $200 or $300 cheaper. At $900, this is a tough sell. I'd much rather have a 50-watt EVH than this amp. The crunch channel on this amp didn't really sound all that great, and you can't foot switch to it, which is a huge miss in my opinion. Having to manually flip a switch on the amp to go to the crunch channel, that sucked. So the lead channel was good. I mean, it was a great lead channel, but not for $900. Yeah, sorry. It's a 3 for me. All right, next on the list, the Driftwood Purple Nightmare pedal. Man, another surprise. I'm giving this a 4. This was an awesome pedal, and the only thing that's holding it back from being a 5 for me is that the more or less gain toggle switch wasn't a foot switch. It needed to be a foot switch so bad. It would make it much more flexible of a unit on stage, but I still had a great time with it on stage, even without that. But overall, an awesome pedal. I was not expecting to get really great old kind of Marshall-y sounds from it, especially after all the other videos of the amp are just like death metal. Like, okay, I'm sure it can do that really well, but when I plugged into it, I went to the greenback cab on the aux box, and I was like, oh man, I was not expecting this. So it can do a lot, and I really hope that they have a version 2 with a foot switch to toggle between your gain stages. All right, next, the Guptech pedals. Got the grinder and the PDEQ. I reached out to them to check out the PDEQ. They're like, cool, we'll send you one, and we'll give you another one that you can give away, which that was really cool of them to do. They threw the grinder in just because I didn't ask for that. And for the grinder, I'm going to say it's a 3 for me. It has a good sound if you have the EQ enabled, but in the 33 or whatever mode, it really didn't have any sounds that I could connect with. I know other people like it, but again, it was kind of just okay for me. The PDEQ though, awesome utility pedal. This is a 4 for me. It's not mission critical for any of my amps, but when you have it, you can tell that it's making a nice difference, kind of just enhancing the low end if you want, or the top end if you want a little bit more. that presence in there. So it's basically a depth and presence control that you are putting into the amp using the effects loop. And you can think, yeah, you can get this with just a regular EQ pedal, but I think the simplicity of the PD EQ is where its strength lies. You're not sitting there fiddling with little sliders and or like a parametric EQ. You're not messing with stuff. You're just turn it on. Either it gives you the sound that you want, or you kind of have a little bit more, a little bit less of the presence and depth, and you're playing. Like it stays out of the way. So that's a 4 for me, and the grounder's a 3. Next, the Blue Guitar Iridium and Mercury. Man, these are cool little amps. And again, a big shout out to Thomas for lending me these two things to try out and spend some time with. He's like, take them on stage. I want you to see what these things can do. And they work really well on stage. They are very loud, but the caveat here is that they do need a 212 or a 412 to really kind of sound as big as they're capable of sounding. A normal guitar amp with tubes and typical guitar amp is going to sound bigger through a 112 than these units do, and I don't really understand the physics of why that is. It's still loud, but it doesn't sound as big and as full. But once you move up to a 212 and particularly a 412, all of a sudden you've got a much, much bigger, more full sound that much more closely resembles kind of the sound and feel of a normal tube guitar amp. So both of these for me, both of these are 4s. I like the Iridium a little bit more than the Mercury, although the Mercury, even though it's billed as kind of like a classic rock, old Marshall type pedal, it can still do kind of the classic hair metal and stuff like that. So two very awesome pedals, and really there's nothing in their space that competes with them. They're the MVPs of, if you want a potent high gain or classic rock sound from a pure pedal based setup, I don't think you can do any better than these. And the Ampex, man, I've got a feeling that thing's going to be incredible. Can't wait. All right, EVH 5150 3, and I reviewed the new one with the dual pot that you can control the gain and the volume independently for the green and blue channel, as well as the first generation version that has kind of a shared gain and volume control for those channels. Really liked both of them. 100% think that the newer version with the adjustable gain and volume for each channel is a much better option, but it just means the price for the other one is the first gen's cheaper. If you just want to get in and just be a caveman with it, then you can get in for cheaper. But again, used, even the new version used for like $800-900, untouchable. You cannot find a better guitar amp for rock and metal than the 5150. The 50 watt version, just a beast on the stage. It made all the right sounds. The blue channel is very flexible, and the red channel, obviously it's ridiculous. So I really enjoyed it, and I'm giving that one a 4. Only reason it's not a 5 is because I've also played the Victory Kraken. I feel like for that type of small, compact type head, 3 channels going from good cleans, good crunch, and moderate rock to metal, I feel like the Kraken is a better unit for me personally. It's got a different voice. It's a little bit smoother and more refined, a little bit more expensive though. And again, you do have a little bit less flexibility with the Kraken because your clean channel and your crunch channel share the same gain control, but I really never felt like that was too much of a hindrance for me. Next, let's go through 3 amps that small builders built that I had the pleasure of working with this year. The first one was the Calypso Evolve 100. I really liked this one. It was kind of SLO-ish, but it had its own thing going on, and I liked that it didn't stick too closely to the SLO sonic formula. I liked that it had its own unique thing going on, and just overall a solid high gain amp. And I don't think that Alex is making these right now. I think he's taking a break from building the Calypso amps, but he is modifying these 6505s. I follow him on social media, and they sound absolutely sick. I think he's also modded Durex and selling modded amps, and I might be checking out one of his modded amps this coming year. But overall, I think the Evolve was really cool. I'm giving it a 4. Wasn't 100% exactly the sound that I wanted personally, but it was a very good sounding amp, and just no complaints whatsoever. Next, the Licklighter Scalpel 50. Golly, this was absolutely just unreal how just focused, singular, one mission in life. Very, I don't want to say it wasn't flexible, because I could still get some decently moderate-ish kind of gain sounds, but this amp was built with one purpose, and that is to just melt people's faces off. And it is easily one of the best high gain sounds that I've ever heard. And if you want an amp with one channel and one mission in life that can just tear heads off, this thing is it. Despite it really not being exactly what I was looking for out of a high gain amp, it was maybe a little bit too much for me. But every time I plugged in, I was like, man, it makes me play. It makes me more aggressive than I hardly ever am. This is a borderline 4 or 5 for me. Maybe not quite what I would reach for personally, but respect where it's due. Like, it makes no apologies. So it's also a very expensive amp, and I can see that turning off some people. But if you want a very well built, extremely high gain amp, man, the Scalpel 50 was a monster. So yeah, great amp, and I'm really excited to see what Mike does with the Jubilee. He's got his hands on it. I think I'm kind of on the back burner in terms of like other paying customers being in front of me with that. So we'll see what happens with the Jubilee. Last but not least, the Sloan Arcturus, another awesome amp, and Steven's a really cool guy, and we're planning on some stuff this coming year, so look forward to that. But the Arcturus was a great amp. It was kind of like this, it straddled the line really well between JCM 800 and kind of old Plexi sound, and it didn't lean too hard in either direction. It lets you sort of float between them in a really cool way. I'm giving this one a 4, and I'll get into it with the next amp, but personally, because the reason it's not a 5 is because when I plug into an amp that I want to sound like a Marshall, I either want it to sound exactly like an 800 or exactly like a Plexi, and I really don't want anything in between. I want a very recognizable and identifiable sound, and I completely understand where other players would be like, no, I don't want purely an 800, I want modded 800, or I want modded Plexi, or I want Plexi with a little bit tighter of a feel, or I want a JCM 800 with a little bit kind of saggier thing going on. And that's where these amps that kind of blend these sounds together, that's where those players can really kind of eat well. But for me, I want it one or the other. So that's why it's not a 5 for me, but it's a great amp regardless, and also very, very competitive price tag on all of his stuff. So definitely check those out if you're interested in something like that. All right, to stick with the conversation about one or the other, Jakey Lee 50 and the Small Box 50. We'll kind of lump those together. Let's see here. So I got the Small Box 50 first to review, and on paper, I was like, this is going to be great. It's a Plexi and an 800, but it fell into the same trap of not being very good at either, in my opinion. And I was like, I want it either to be a great Plexi or a great 800, and you can't have both, in my honest opinion. And I felt like I wanted more from the small box, and like I said in my review for the Jakey Lee 50, when I plugged into that, I was like, this is what I wanted the small box to be. It's got more gain, it's got kind of like a tighter higher gain thing going on channel 2, but with the ability to still do the old plexi thing on channel 1. So again, they both kind of like live in this in-between area with not really nailing either of the two the way that I wanted them to. Now, Pete Thorne did a great video of the Jakey Lee 50 where he plugged in A/B comparison the Jakey Lee with one of his old plexis and his 2203, and the sound was right, but the feel in the room after having played the Jakey Lee 50 and the Plex and the 800, the Jakey Lee 50 is kind of like its own thing in terms of the feel. It doesn't just punch you in the face the way a 2203 does, but also it doesn't have the same kind of like soft, smooth squish to the lower mid-range that the Plex did. So, but it does the voice of each of them really well. So if that's what you're after, I think the Jakey Lee 50 is probably the amp to get out of the two between it and the small box. But both of these are a 4 for me. Great amps, but again, I didn't connect with them the way that I'd hoped I would. Next, another Origin pedal, the Halcyon Green. This is a cool surprise. I hate tube screamers. I really don't like the way they're structured, and this pedal was different because it lets you blend as much or as little of that as you want, and you can have either like the pure 808 or you can have like the modified with the toggle switch. It just feels like a better tube screamer than the 5 or 6 or whatever that I've owned in the past. And you know, plugging into the same amps that I've plugged in other tube screamers, I was like, man, this thing it does everything I want it to do. And it's because you can kind of adjust how tube screamery you want it to be. And some amps you want that modded sound where it cuts a little bit harder. With the JCM 800 that I had, it sounded better on the more pure 808 sound. So again, it can adapt to what kind of amp you're using. And if you don't like tube screamers, I think you should maybe give this one a try. You might be surprised. It absolutely does wonders into the Dietzel. And I wasn't expecting it to sound as good as it did with that amp, but man, it goes so well with the Dietzel. Like that's the pedal for the VH4 in my opinion. The only reason it's not a 5 though, you guessed it, the MEQ exists. It's a very, very good pedal, awesome tube screamer, but I feel like I get more use out of the MEQ. I feel like the MEQ can adapt in more practical ways for me personally, so that's why it's a 5 for me. But Halcyon Green, definitely the best tube screamer I've ever plugged into. Next, the Blue Chip guitar pick. I'm gonna say this one's a 3. It's an expensive guitar pick. However, if you want a pick that will not die and has a good, nice kind of bite to it, it's a great pick. And if you want a pick that isn't really thick but has the stiffness of a thick pick, it's also a good product. But man, it's an expensive pick, and I 100% understand why people would be like, nah, it's not for me. But I'm glad I bought it. It was kind of a curiosity thing, and I think it's cool, but I rarely use it. I occasionally will use it when I play acoustic shows, but I'm just scared I'll lose the thing. But even after having used it for hours and hours and hours, it's like brand new. Like it doesn't wear out. So there's that too. All right, next on the list, the LTD EC1007. I wanted to like this thing so much more than I actually did, but I think it had two things going for it that I didn't connect with the way that I had hoped I would. The first was the fact that it was a 7-string. I mean, I knew that going into it. I've owned a 7-string in the past, and I couldn't ever get my brain to adjust to the extra string. I was like, okay, let's give it another shot. Let's see if I can adjust to it this time. I couldn't. So there's that. But also the pickups, man, it needed good high gain passive pickups. I understand why they use the Fluence Moderns, because everybody uses those. but I just didn't like the way they sounded. And I felt like it was just holding the guitar back from its potential. Everything else, though, about the guitar I absolutely loved. It was built extremely well. The setup was perfect on it. That neck joint that they used, like that real smooth, like neck through feeling neck joint, is really comfortable. And the like the Evertune bridge was absolutely solid on there, and I feel like that's like a really cool standout feature of that guitar. I want that guitar with the Evertune, but I want it to be a 6-string version. I still want it black with the gold hardware, and I want just some nice Seymour Duncans or something in there. And I think if that guitar existed, I would own it, and it would be a 5. But for this, it was a solid 4. But for the guys who do want a 7-string, who don't mind those pickups, I think it's probably one of the best 7-strings I've ever played. And it's not cheap, but it was a very, very well built guitar. Next, is the Donner MT1. They reached out to me, just random, showed up in my email. They were like, "Hey, you want to review this thing?" I was like, "I'll give it a shot," and pleasantly surprised. It is a budget product, and its small footprint kind of limits it in terms of just the physics of what a small speaker can do. But it was loud, and being battery operated does give it a nice amount of flexibility. And the fact that the controls are all physical controls on the unit itself, and you're not having to use a smartphone to control it, it's a very good thing for those who are just on stage and want a quick adjustment. So probably not anything that I'll take on stage again. Just again, the size was a little bit on the small side. It works really well for acoustic shows. I did use it for a couple of acoustic shows. It, however, has found new life in my son's room with his electronic drum kit, and yay for that. Loud drums in the house, but I can't complain. I have no room to complain for about that. So yeah, I'm giving this borderline 3-4. I think that there are better options if you, depending on like your level of professionalism and your budget. If you're just starting out, just kind of playing low-key acoustic shows, I think it's great. 2 inputs, guitar, vocals. It's got everything you need. Portable, good price tag. It's a good product, but I think that once you get past like the I don't want to call it like the beginner phase, but you know what I'm talking about. I think that all of a sudden you get to more options that are bigger sounding, probably better built. I don't know. It's a tricky one for me. I feel like it deserves a 4, but for me personally, I still feel like it's a 3. It's a very strong 3. We'll call it that. A strong 3. All right, we are getting near the end of our list here. Schecter PTEX Baritone. I actually bought this thing. I came in hot on this thing right after that LTD 7-string, thinking, okay, well, I love the baritone scale length and adjusted to that without any problems whatsoever. I was like, but I want the lower tunings, but without the 7th string. That's a baritone. And I feel like this is a very well-built instrument. And it had, again, it's one of those, like, it's got good bones, whatever. It was going to be a project guitar for me. I was going to put new pickups in there, change out the pickup selector to a 3-way blade selector, maybe get like a different paint job, or like wrap it, because honestly the gray was kind of ugly in my opinion. But the fretwork and the setup and the build quality were all top notch. Again, I expect nothing less from Schecter at this point, regardless of whether it's from Indonesia or Korea. So again, it was a very good guitar. I didn't feel like the pickups did the guitar the justice that it probably deserved. I think it needed something a little bit hotter, but that's just me. I'm giving this a 4. I think it's a great option if you want a inexpensive, well-built 6-string baritone. The space isn't really that crowded in terms of that kind of product. As long as you don't mind kind of like the drab looks, then it's a pretty cool guitar. So strong 4 for me. I did end up returning it though, mainly because of the next item on the list, which is the Dietzel VH4. That Schecter was a payment on the VH4. So the Schecter went back, and the VH4 will not go back. And again, just legendary amp. It can do all kinds of things, and the thing that I like about the VH4, like the more I play it, the more I realize that it has a sound and feel in the way that just the amp responds that no other amp that I've plugged into can do. And I feel like that's kind of unique to the VH4, and one of the reasons why so many people love it. And it's like wildly expensive, but when you realize that it just has something about the sound and the way that the amp behaves that no other amp does, if that's important to you, then the VH4 is one of those buy it for life amps that you'll just never let go, because you'll constantly be chasing that from that point on. And as far as I'm aware, you're not going to find it in anything else. So VH4, just a very strong 5 for me. I absolutely love it, but I also want to recognize that it's not perfect. It's just a guitar amp. It's capacitors and resistors and wires and tubes and just like every other amplifier out there. And my Mesa does stuff that the VH4 doesn't do. And the Mesa has, it can cut harder. It has like more gain. It has impulse response loader built in. You can run it without a cabinet. Like the Mesa, the Mark 7 is just, man, it's still my Desert Island amp. As much as I like the VH4, it's an absolute bear to take on stage, and it probably is not going back on stage unless there's kind of some special occasion where I can really kind of let it stretch its legs on stage. The VH4 is staying home, but the Mesa does sounds that the Diesel can't. The let's see, it can't sound like the Splon. The Splon does its own thing. It can't sound like an 800. So it does a lot of things really, really well. And the things that it does well, it does unbelievably well, but it doesn't do everything. But it does a lot of things exceptionally well. So I feel like the price is kind of justified on the VH4 there. So again, just a top of the list 5 for me. All right, last but not least on this list is the Balaguer Seraph Modern. Just an awesome guitar. I reached out to the guys at Balaguer Guitars. I'm like, hey, everybody's hyping these things up. Can I have one to try out? And Joe graciously let me borrow one of the ones that he built. So I got a taste of kind of like the top of the heap there, and just a really, really good guitar. It played exceptionally well. It was built really well. It had like this really cool kind of pearl sparkle paint job on it. The neck and fretboard had that that roasted flame maple, just absolutely beautiful. The pickups, despite being their own in-house brand, they sounded really good. Maybe not quite what I would go for, but I felt like they were still really, really well voiced for modern rock, high gain stuff, and just had an absolute blast with the guitar. Really liked it, and every time I picked it up, though, I was 100% treating that thing like a Fabergé egg, because it's not a cheap guitar, and it didn't belong to me, and somebody was going to own it, and I wanted to make sure that whoever owned it got it in the same condition that I got the guitar to try out. So yeah, that one stayed here at the house, didn't go on stage with me, but I had a very good time with it, and definitely look forward to more Balaguer content in 2026. So looking forward to that. Wrapping things up here, I think the best of the best for me, practically speaking, I'm going to give it to the Sin 20 IR head and the Deliverance module. I think that if I had to completely start from scratch as a guitar player, I would probably have that combination, because I felt like it could do everything besides like the most brutal death metal. If you're playing that, then that module probably isn't the right choice. But overall, I felt like the Sin 20 with the Deliverance module Could do everything that I wanted an amplifier to do on stage as a 90s and 2000s rock cover musician. It works really well at home, and I mean, what's left to be said? Like, it's just a killer product, and with that Deliverance module, it covers so much ground. Just does so much very well. So that's kind of my best of 2025 right there, is the Sin 20 with the Deliverance module. Now, looking forward to 2026, what we got going on this year? Hopefully, I know we're going to hit 6,000 subs. I would like to hit 6,500, 7,000. Maybe we can get there. We'll see what happens with that. But I'm hopefully going to be building my own guitar, and I'm kind of scared, but I found a builder who he's really cool. I've talked to him on the phone, and I think we're kind of working through exactly what we want to do. But we've got some cool plans laid out in terms of what I want from a guitar, and I've always had sort of a dream guitar that, even though is well within the realm of financial affordability, is I kind of want to go at it from making it myself. I feel like that would be a really cool twist on acquiring your dream instrument, like not just going and buying it, but actually like making it yourself. But also have like the terror in the back of my head, like, I've never done this before, and this other company that builds the dream guitar, like, they've been doing it for a very long time. But thankfully, the guy who I'll be working with he's very talented, and looking forward to that. Also, hopefully on the list for the new Victory MKX. I don't know when that'll happen, but I definitely am going to get that amp on the channel, so look forward to that. Also, coming very soon, hopefully, the Baby JCM 800 and the Friedman Jakey Lee 20. I want to hear those two amps side by side. I feel like they're kind of cut from the same cloth, and I want to hear the pure 800, Baby 800 with the little Jakey Lee to kind of see where those two stack up with each other. And I also want to try the little 20-watt Plexi. Just kind of get a feel for that little guy too. Like I said earlier, gonna have more content from Sloan Amplification. Probably gonna have one of Alex's modded Calypso amps sometime on the channel. Talking with the guys at Rev, so hopefully gonna have something there. And obviously, like I said earlier, more Balaguer guitar content also, and more Synergy modules. I've still got a bunch more to work through. See who can hang with the Deliverance module. So yeah, that's gonna wrap up this video for 2025 in review. Appreciate you guys hanging out with me and all the support that you've shown for the last year. Let's keep this train rolling and keep the subs going. And if there's any brands that or products that you want me to try out that aren't on Zound's website, by all means, let me know, and I'll reach out to them and do my best to kind of, do a little arm twisting and see what I can do to get, something on the channel for you guys. But anything on Zound's website that you guys are interested in hearing, kind of my thoughts and my take on it, compared to, whatever else it is that I've reviewed on the channel, yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. And you guys got any New Year's resolutions? Anything new for 2026? I'm trying to get down to my fighting weight again. No, I'm trying to lose a little bit, cut a little bit of weight here. The dad dumpster, as I like to call it, where the kids will eat like one bite of a taco. And I'm like, well, perfectly good taco here. We can't throw it away. So I ended up eating a lot more of the kids' food in addition to my own food that I wanted the last couple of years. So definitely, that's my resolution, is to cut back. Just take a little bit better care of myself, and hopefully we'll see some fruits of that sooner than later. But been there before. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So we'll see how that happens. But I'm curious to know what your guys what y'all's resolutions are. So let me know down in the comments. And here's to a productive and exciting 2026. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye.